When we formed the organization, we decided to call it Midrash Ben Ish Hai. Why Ben Ish Hai? Because for me personally, this was the name that meant everything to me. My father, Alav Shalom, who was a far more religious man than I am, even though I tried to emulate him, and I would say far more knowledgeable, even though I tried to emulate him, his go-to Sefarim were the works of Hacham Yosef Haim, Alav Shalom, the Ben Ish Hai. And this is how I grew up. Indeed, it's not just me. Hacham Yosef Haim was the Hacham, and in fact continues to be, but he was for the parents, the grandparents of just about every Sephardi today, the person that they followed. And indeed, the Ashkenazi world turns to him. He was in constant contact with the Ashkenazi Rabbanim, the Ashkenazi Hachamim, back and forth on matters of halakha and other matters of Torah. So it was, in a sense, a no-brainer when we came to name the organization that it would be run in accordance with his teachings, to name it after him. As a matter of fact, he came from a family of renowned Hachamim. His grandfather, Hacham Moshe Haim Alav Shalom, was so great that he was given the position of being the only Hacham in the entire city of Baghdad, which had many, many synagogues, to be permitted on 4 special Shabbatot in the year to give a drasha. Nobody else could give it, only him. And this got passed down to his son, Hacham Eliyahu Haim, and to his son, Hacham Yosef Haim, Alav Shalom, Aleim Shalom, the Ben Ish Hai. I'd like to speak a little bit about Hacham Yosef Haim, Alav Shalom. He studied with his father till the age of about 14. And then he continued in Midrash Beit Zilcha under the tutelage of the great Hacham Abdallah Somech, who is actually my great-grandfather's uncle. And then after that, he continued studying with his own uncle. He, despite his amazing knowledge, and certain things that happened even when he was 14 that showed his knowledge, basically he was not known because he was in his father's shadow. His father died when he was young. He was 25 or 26. And during the Shema, every day, one of the greatest Hachamim of Baghdad spoke and eulogized him. And on the 7th day, Hacham Yosef Haim got up and eulogized his father. They say the elderly Hachamim, the elderly rabbis of Baghdad, very great rabbis, were in shock and in awe at what they heard. And these venerable elderly rabbis came to him after that and said, "We want you to be the head of all the rabbis in Baghdad." Despite that, we must know that Hacham Yosef Haim, Alav Shalom, never, ever accepted any official position. Officially, he was nothing. In fact, he was everything. He turned down positions of all sorts, including to be the chief rabbi of Israel. Why? Because, quite correctly, he said, when you take a position, you have a boss. You can't say exactly what it is you want to say. So he never accepted a position, and he was his own man and said whatever he wanted to say. But of course, what he wanted to say was nothing more or nothing short, shall we say, of pearls of wisdom. As a matter of fact, he was one of the few Hachamim, and since then, I can honestly say there hasn't been one who was able to do it like he did, who was able to merge the Sephardi customs, which are Maran Beit Yosef, Yosef Karo Alav Shalom, of the Shulchan Aruch, and Rabbeinu the Arizal, who were in two different worlds in a sense, even though they were together at the same time. One was very much the Peshat, the other one was the Sod, the Kabbalah. Chacham Yosef Haim had this amazing knack of being able to take the two and merge them and blend them and make them one, like you don't even feel that there's a difference between them. And this is really the basis of Sephardi halacha and has been throughout the ages. And it was for everybody. And he was followed by, as I say, the Sephardim around the world, from all manner of places, as well as being highly respected in the Ashkenazi world. We have to understand the greatness of the person. You know, it's okay to be, shall we say, very proficient at writing and being able, they say he used to write so fast that he would finish one sheet and the ink hadn't dried when he was already on the second sheet. It's okay to be able to give amazing drashot, but what is the person himself doing with himself? You know, I think many of you are aware, many of you I imagine are getting the daily A Torah Minute that we put out. And we've published several books, and another one is in the works. And a lot of them are based on Chacham Yosef Haim's psak. On one that I did recently, I mentioned that if a person finds something bad happening to them, they have to look within themselves and make teshuvah. Whereas we don't really want to do that. We want to say something bad happened. It happened, happenstance. It's not my fault. It's, in fact, very unfortunate that I'm being treated this way, because I'm a good guy. There was the famous incident where some people lied about his family and his brothers, who were in business and, in fact, supporting him. And they lied to the government and said that they said things that were not correct. What did the government do? They didn't ask questions. They arrested them all and marched them through the streets of Baghdad to the jail, including Chacham Yosef Haim. What an embarrassment. When they got there, the people said, do you know who you just brought in? Let him go immediately. So they let Chacham Yosef Haim alav shalom go, but the three brothers remained in jail for a year till they proved that it was absolute total nonsense. And then maybe they said, oh, I'm so sorry, and let them go. During that year, their mother, Chacham Yosef Haim alav shalom's mother, who was a noble lady, couldn't take what had happened, this disgrace to the family, and she died. Chacham Yosef Haim, this is to give you an idea, an understanding of the man, the meter of the man, said, it's my fault. If this happened to my family, it must be something wrong with me. This great sage, this holy man said, it must be me. And for almost 7 years, he didn't leave his home, and he fasted every single day of the year. We don't want to fast one day of the year. Every single day, he took it upon himself to fast every day, except, of course, Yom Tov, Shabbat. This is the meter of the man. This is the kind of person that he is. I think this is something that we should, you know, he passed away in Elul, the 13th of Elul. Elul is the time of Teshuvah. I think we have to take that lesson and learn from it. Things happen to us. We have to realize we do need to make a tikkun. Maybe we're not going to fast every day, but we need to do something to realize that we're doing the wrong thing. I used to hear a lot of stories about him from my father, not that my father knew him, but his father was, I think, a small boy, but he used to hear all the stories in Baghdad, and many stories that I used to hear, and then other stories that I learned later. And one story that I read actually in one of the works of Maran Mordechai Eliyahu alav shalom, the Rishon LeZion, the late Rishon LeZion and chief rabbi of Israel, was a fascinating story about one occasion when Maran Mordechai Eliyahu alav shalom was giving a drasha before Rosh Hashanah. And he said, when you light the candles on Rosh Hashanah, you have to say, Lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. All of a sudden, an elderly gentleman sitting next to him starts crying. And afterwards, Maran Mordechai Eliyahu says to him, why are you crying? He said, because you're my rabbi, and the Ben Ish Chai is my rabbi. You said that we have to light the candles for Rosh Hashanah, and the women have to say, להדליק נר של יום טוב. But I heard the Ben Ish Hai say you have to say להדליק נר של יום הזיכרון. Light the candle for a holiday or for the day of remembrance? He says, I don't know what to do. You're my rabbi and he was my rabbi. Maram Mordechai Eliyahu tells him, you do what you heard the Ben Ish Hai tell you, but I've got to find out. He went to Acham Nisim Chaduri. People call him Kaduri, Allah Shalom Chaduri is the name. And he asked him, he says, what is the story? This is what the man said, that he heard Acham Yosef Haim Allah Shalom himself say it should be Le'adich Ner Shel Yom HaZikaron, whereas we follow it should be Shel Yom Tov. He said, what year did he hear this? Was it this year or was it that year? Tarosh Kaf Heth or Teth? He says, because I'll tell you what happened. The first year, Hacham Yosef Haim got up and was giving halachot before Rosh Hashanah, must have been just before Rosh Hashanah from the way I understand the story, and he said, when you light candles for Yom HaZikaron, when you light the ner for Yom HaZikaron, and he didn't tell them that you have to say the bracha of Le'adlik ner shel Yom HaZikaron, but he was saying Yom HaZikaron when you light the candles, and he says everybody understood that you have to say Le'adlik ner shel Yom HaZikaron. Hacham Yosef Haim Allah Shalom goes home at some point, and his wife comes up to him. What bracha do we say when we light the candles for Rosh Hashanah? He says, Le'adlik ner shel Yom Tov. She said, but all the ladies, our neighbors, are saying that you just said that they had to say not Shel Yom Tov, but Shel Yom HaZikaron. I guess it was too late to fix that year. He says, I will fix it next year. So next year he went to the synagogue or wherever he was giving the drasha, and he said, you have to say Le'adlik ner shel Yom Tov. And apparently this gentleman had heard the first year, but did not hear the second year. I just want to tell you one other story that just shows the mettle of the man. On Rosh Hashanah, it's a Yom HaRichta, it's 2 days. The second day is like the first day. We're going to say Shehiyanu. So Rabbeinu the Hida tells us very, very categorically, we're in Sarich, you don't need to have a new fruit, you don't need to say Shehiyanu. The Ben Ish Hai takes that and says, Im is the main law. If he happens to come across a new fruit, let him take it for the second night. Some people say you got to make a big deal to find it. But according to the Ben Ish Hai, it's not a big deal. The Hida says, really, you don't need it. The Ben Ish Hai says, if you find it, means you don't go looking for it. You go in the store and you happen to see it there, buy it. And say Shehiyanu on it on the second night. That's his psak. That's what he says in Sefer HaKadosh, Ben Ish Hai, in the holy work, Ben Ish Hai. Now, Baghdad is very hot. And the time when he lived, over 100 years ago, and more, because during his lifetime, there was no air conditioning. There was no concept that you plug something in the wall and cool air comes out of it. So what did they all do? One of the things they did was they ate watermelon. Watermelon is a lot of water, and it's apparently has some cooling. I know a lot of people do this. They would eat a lot of watermelon and the sugar and everything, and everybody felt a lot better. They felt good. They felt healthy. Acham Yosef Haim, Allah Shalom, the entire summer would not eat watermelon because he kept it for Rosh Hashanah in order to say Shehiyanu. Even though he himself said, you don't need to worry about it, only if it happens. He didn't touch it the entire summer so he could eat it for the first time on Rosh Hashanah. Such an amazing man. Some people say, but he's strict. I have never seen any Hacham go out of his way. Yes, he is strict when we can be strict, but I've never seen any Hacham go out of his way to make sure that it's not difficult for people. To the extent that even when the people used to do something that others would frown on, he would find reasons to support it and justify it. Because he cared for people. Rosh Hashanah is around the corner. If we can follow his ways, before we arrive at the synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, before we get there and pray to God for a good life, and say, thank you, God, that we made this year, and hopefully we will all make this year we survived this year. Now please, we're asking for life, we're asking for parnasah, we're asking for health, we're asking for children, we're asking for shidduchim, we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what are we doing for him? Let's learn from the holy sage, the holy Ben Ish Hai, who was at such a high level that we can't even comprehend what it means to fast every day for 6 whole years. Let us at least do something at our level. Let us take on the responsibility of accepting that we haven't been perfect. Hopefully we've been good in many areas, but we have not been perfect. Otherwise we wouldn't be on this earth. Let us do whatever we can. Let us do it, number one, for the Ilui Neshama of this great soul, Morenu Rabbeinu Acham Yosef Hayim Alav Shalom, and let us do it so that we will make teshuvah, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bless us with a long life, a healthy life, a happy life, and may we always sit together and remember the great sages that went before us and study the Torah and give pleasure to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and receive ultimate blessing for it. Thank you all for coming.